Alright, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play Zed Jungle, and I'm going to teach you how to win and carry all of your games. So, the first section I'm going to talk about is the rune section. What I like to use is Conqueror because my goal every game is to be way stronger than enemy jungle and to be able to 1v1 them at any time and just snowball with that. So yeah, like I said, I use Conqueror because it helps with 1v1s, and you can either go Triumph or Presence of Mind. Most people take Presence of Mind when they play Zed, but I prefer Triumph because I like to be able to 1v9 in team fights. The health that it gives you is just way too good to pass up. Legend Haste because most Zed players take Lucidity Boots, but I think Defensive Boots is way better. So because I take Defensive Boots, I don't have the ability Haste that Lucidity gives. So the Legend Haste helps with that because it gives me extra haste. It's self-explanatory. And of course, Last Stands because it's gonna give me extra damage. It's gonna give you the most damage out of the 3 runes for 1v1s that you're losing. Because if you're winning a 1v1, you're not going to need that rune, but if you're losing, then that's going to give you the difference. Secondary, I take Sorcerer, I take Transcendence, again, for more ability haste, and I take... Okay, so, if you're against a weak early game jungle, I would take Gathering Storm, but if you're against a strong early game jungle like Shaco or someone that can 1v1 you, I would take Axiom, because the extra damage on your ults can also help you win the 1v1. And of course, secondary, I take double attack damage. And again, if you're against a strong early game jungle, you're going to take plus 65 health rune. But if you're against a weak early game jungle, you're going to take the scaling HP. And hopefully that makes sense. Alright, that's pretty much it for the rune section. Now I'm going to talk about the combos. Now, Zed's most important combo is the W. Oh, let me take this volume down a little. Zed's most important combo is his E and W interaction. Now, if you don't know, I'm not gonna go into the basic combos because I'm assuming you know like what his Q does, what his W does, all that stuff. I'm assuming you know that. But the combo that he's gonna use the most is how his W interact with his E. His E, if you read right here, each enemy hit by Z / reduce living shadows cooldown by 3 seconds. Which means if you... It has to be you. It can't be your shadow. Like, let's say your shadow hits someone with your E, it's not going to reduce any cooldown. But if you hit people with your E, it's going to reduce your shadow cooldown. Like, pay attention to the bar here. Okay, wait, what's going on here? Did it reduce? Hold on. Oh, I need to do this. Pay attention to the... You see how the cooldown jumped? That's the most important thing about E about Zed, because if you use it proficiently, you're gonna have your W so often in team fights, and your W is what helps you escape. So let me show you, before I explain how you actually use it, let me show you let me show you first. Pay attention to the cooldown. You see how it almost seems like I always have a W to escape, and I don't have auto cooldown enabled. So, alright, now I'm going to explain how you actually do it. So what Zed players actually like to do is, well, like I said, your E reduces the cooldown, but how you use it is what Zed players like to do is first you W E, and then you wait until it's very low, then you swap, and then you E, and then basically every time you dash, you want to use your E in between, because it's just gonna reduce the cooldown and without you even overthinking it. But the gist of it is just WE and then wait. Like in every single fight, you WE and then you wait, and then you swap W, so teleport back to your W shadow, and then you E, and then it just reduces it. So, and it stacks actually, so the more people you hit with your E, the more your shadow gets reduced. So another example that I'm gonna show you is, let's walk over here. I'm gonna place 2 shadows. Let's say this is a Nocturne, right? Let's say this is where he begins, and this is where he's walking. So pretend this is an animation of him walking towards me, and I'm over here. So he starts here again, and he's gonna end up here. So what people like to do is WE, and then when Nocturne gets too close, ult him, then swap with your W. So and then if he turns back around and comes back close again, you swap again, just like this. That's a really good cooldown in case someone is trying to get to you, because it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll try to show you a clip after this. But yeah, WE, when he comes close to you, ult, then E, swap, and then, hold on, let me do this again, because the cooldown thing was enabled. WE, when he walks up to you, when he gets close, ult, E, swap, and then when he comes back this way again, you swap with your ult. So that's what you want to do with Zed. You want to deal damage from afar, from a safe distance. So you basically just want to kite people, kind of like an ADC. Hopefully it makes sense, because it's a little bit confusing if you're a beginner. But like I said, I'll show you the clip afterwards, and it should make way more sense. Another cooldown that people like to do is, let's say you're 1 HP, you can W backwards, ult, and then you just swap with your W and then just allow your shadows to deal damage for you. This is really good if you're 1 HP and you want to one-shot someone. What else should I talk about? Oh, your shadow limit. One thing that a lot of people don't notice, you see this blue arrow? This gives you a limit of when you can swap. So when it's red, that means you're starting to get way too far to swap back to your shadow. So when it's red, that means you're absolutely at the limit. So if you keep walking after it's red, you see now I'm... wait. Hold on, what is the limit? Okay, now, yeah, I'm spamming W and it wasn't going to let me swap back. So the limit is a little bit after it turns red. It's not exactly when it turns red, it's a little bit after. Now on the other side, because you have two shadows, your ult shadow, it doesn't matter how far you go. Like, let's say I go this far, I'll always be able to swap back. So your W has a limit, but your ult does not have a limit in terms of your distance. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, yeah. Now let's move on a little bit to what the gameplay is gonna be like as a jungler, the macro of the jungler. So Zed's jungle, the best thing about Zed jungle is that his clear is one of the fastest clear in the game. So you know what that means? That means your invades are gonna be insanely strong, and your full clear is gonna be insanely strong. So I believe it's best to play towards that or play around that. Now, as I talked about the runes earlier, Conqueror, I mentioned how it's very good on, or it's very important for 1v1ing. Your target is actually going to be enemy jungle. You don't want to build, well, at least in the early game, you want to mainly build against early jungle. So your first few items are going to be against enemy jungle. So let's say you're against a Lee Sin. You're going to always start with this Caulfield Warhammer or whatever it's called, and then build the defensive boots. Or you can also even rush the defensive boots if you want, but the point is you want to get a defensive boots very early. So let's say it's a Lee Sin, you get this boot, plated steel caps, and let's say it's a jungle with a lot of CC like Fiddlesticks, you get Mercury Thread. Let's say it's a one-shot jungle, or a jungle that one-shots you, or just any AP jungle like that, you get Hex Drinker. So again, steel caps, Merc Threads, or Hex Drinker. Or you can even just get Merc Threads for AP in general. But I think Hex Drinker for the shield is also pretty good. So yeah, just always build toward against enemy jungle, because you're gonna get ahead by invading enemy jungle and 1v1ing him anytime he shows or try to stop you to invade. Now I'm gonna start to talk about where you start. I believe in every single Zed jungle game, you want to start bot. The reason is, like I told you earlier, your goal is going to be to invade, which means if you start bot, when you finish your clear, by the time you go to invade, it's going to be topside. Now, the reason this is so good is because if you invade topside, Enemy jungle is gonna try to stop you, top is gonna try to stop you, and mid is gonna try to stop you. Now what's that? That's 3 people trying to stop you. Versus if you start top side and you finish bot, you finish your clear bot, which means you're gonna try to invade bot. In that case, mid is gonna try to stop you, enemy jungle is gonna try to stop you, support is gonna try to stop you, and ADC is gonna try to stop you. So that's 4 people trying to stop you versus 3 people trying to stop you. So I believe you just have a way more advantage and a way higher chance to escape if you start bot side and you invade top. Another thing, or another reason why bot side start is really good is that if you get a leash, that's 2 people helping you to clear your leash, which means you're gonna finish your clear faster than enemy jungle, and that's your goal. If you want to invade, your goal is gonna be to finish clearing faster than enemy jungle finishes clearing. So hopefully that makes sense so far. I know these days there's not really, it's not a leash meta, I guess, but either way, like in case they do want to help you leash, then that's gonna be another advantage. All right, now as I said, you're gonna start bot side. Now every time you do a clear, I want you guys to look at it as a clear race. You're racing against enemy jungle. So every time you do a clear, finish your entire clear before you do anything on the map. Now there's 3 priorities or 3 checklists after you finish your clear. The first checklist is invading. The second on the checklist is ganking. And the third is going to be objective. Now you can swap objective versus ganking depending on how your team is performing, but it doesn't matter too much. Just know that invading is the number 1 thing on the priority list. So what I'm gonna elaborate what I mean by this. When you finish your clear, you're gonna go through the checklist. First thing you're gonna think is, can I invade? Or check. You're gonna walk here and see if you can invade, and I'm gonna elaborate later on it, how you can guess if you're gonna be able to invade. But for now, I want you to just walk and check if enemy jungler's camps are down, or if he started on the opposite side of you and you know all of this are down and he's on the other side. That means you can't invade. So if you can't invade, you remove that off the checklist. Now the second thing you check is if you can gank. Are they pushed up or are they half HP? Do you have your ult? Is it a free kill? If yes, then okay, gank. If you can't gank, you go through the next thing on the checklist, which is objectives. Is this up? Yes. Okay, then take it. Is this up? Yes. I mean, usually it's not. You're gonna finish top side, so I wouldn't really focus too much on dragon unless it's like the 3rd dragon. But yeah, you get the point. Invade, gank, and then objectives. And if you can't do any of the 3, just recall and go back to your camps. You don't have to force anything. Just go through the checklist. Don't force. And yeah. So yeah, as I said, you finish all your clear. You finish your entire clear, and then you go through the checklist. But what I also want to mention is that every time you do a clear, you're gonna go through the same order. This thing first, the camp first, the blue or red buff first, depending on, because if you're on this side, the blue buff is gonna be the first thing. But this thing first, then this. Let me remove the vision. How do I do that? Can I even do that here? I don't think I can. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'll just show you guys and just imagine you can see it. So this first, and then this, and then chickens, then wolf, then gromp, and then the last camp last. Hopefully that makes sense. And on the other side, blue, gromp, wolf, chicken, red actually. So here there's an exception. Red, and then golems. So the reason that I tell you guys to start with the camp first and then end with the camp is that the regular camps spawn every clear, but these camps spawn every 2 clear. So if you want to invade, you have to play with efficiency. So if let's say for example you don't start here and you start here, and then you go here, and then you go here, that means on your second clear, this thing is gonna spawn, this is not gonna spawn, and this is not gonna spawn yet because you cleared it after you finished this. So you're gonna, so that means on your second clear, you're gonna do this. Then you're gonna walk here and wait awkwardly doing nothing while waiting for this to spawn. So that's why you want to avoid it, because if you start here and then you do this and then you do this on your second clear, this is not gonna spawn. So you're gonna go here and then you're gonna go here and it's gonna be here. You're not gonna awkwardly wait. And on top of that, you're gonna have extra time to do something before you start your second clear, because you started with this and it's not gonna be spawned. So hopefully that makes sense as well. And if you end it, of course, the same thing applies after you, on your second clear, after you finish this, you're not gonna have to awkwardly wait. You can just instantly go to invade or go or gank or objective. So moving on. On as Zed, as I mentioned, you're gonna be full clearing. So a very big mistake that low elo does, or at least your teammates, they're gonna ask you to gank a lot. Actually, like, you have to realize your teammates don't play jungle. That's one, they don't play jungle, and two, they're at this elo because they belong this elo. Your goal is you want to be the carry and you want to be better than this elo, which means you should not play as what your teammates, you shouldn't rely on your teammates to tell you what to play. So I would even recommend you mute all. Don't yeah, my account is restricted, don't this is why you need to mute all. But yeah, I recommend you guys mute all and just focus on what I'm telling you, and you should win all your games. So the reason that I say this is that a big mistake is that a lot of times your teammates are gonna, if you're here, he's gonna ask you to gank. He's gonna be tilted, maybe 1 HP. He's gonna be like, "Hey jungle, gank, help me. I'm about to die." You don't want to gank him. You want to ignore him, especially if he's losing. If someone is losing, you are more likely to want to ignore their lane, because if you gank after you're gonna get a kill, but he's still gonna be losing. So you wasted resources and you wasted tempo on someone that's still gonna lose anyways. So yeah, if they spam you to gank, don't listen to them. You don't want to do anything on the map until you finish your clear as Zed. Now the only exception that I will say is, let's say you're on the way and she's like, let's say it's an Akali and they're diving your laner, and you can just WEQ and it's a free kill, and then you continue to your clear, then yes, of course, gank. And I want to reiterate, this is the early game. Late game is going to be a different set of rules. Before the early game and a little bit of the mid game, don't focus on gank. Your XP is more important in the early game. So the main objective in the early game is to get an XP lead over enemy jungle. Now okay, now let's say you finished all your clear, you ended the blue. Let's say now I'm gonna start going through the checklist. I don't like playing on this side. Okay, let's pretend I finished my clear here. Let's say this was the last camp. I'm gonna go through the checklist. First, I'm gonna check if I can invade as Zed jungle. So what I usually like to do is, since I mentioned at the beginning your clear is one of the fastest in the game, that means usually when you finish your clear, enemy jungle is going to be on their last clear. So what I like to do is I walk over here, I hit this plant. They're on their last clear, like I said, so usually they're going to be here. Sometimes they're unluckily going to be here, but most of the time they're going to be here if they started on the same side as you. So I check, usually they're here. If they're here, I try to WEQ and steal with the smite. And I try to flash or save my flash in case I need to escape. And another thing actually is before you even gank, ping your laners. Tell them this is how you ping. Hold on. While you're walking, you ping, and then you ping the arrow. A lot of people complain that when you ping their laners don't listen. That this is because you're pinging on yourself. If you ping on yourself, these guys aren't gonna see it. Like, let's say I'm pinging on myself. They hear the sound, but they're focused on their lane, so they might even tune out the sound. They're not gonna see it. But if you ping on their lane, they see it, and then after you ping the arrow, you're telling them why you pinged. So what that does is that you're gonna get them ready to rotate. So when I ping them and then I ping the arrow, they're ready to rotate in case something goes down. So as I said, you try to steal it with smite. flash in case it goes wrong. If it doesn't go wrong, usually you can 1v1 them because you have Conqueror and you have a level lead. So try to fight them because they're going to be level 3 if you successfully stole it. But if you can't fight them, try to save your flash to escape. Usually your laner is going to be on his way to help you. If they're losing, then that's going to suck. You might die. So you don't even have to invade really, but that's what I like to do and usually it works. But yeah, take the scuttle. Now, another scenario is, let's say you check and there's no camps here. What that usually means is that they actually started here and they're going bot side. That means they're going to be here. So what that means is that they started the opposite side of you, and it's important for you to know this because now what that means is that every time you finish a clear, the camps that are going to be on the map is going to be on the other side of you. So let's say I finish my clear on this side. That means now I know every time I finish a clear, the camps that are going to be up is here. So that means it's going to be a waste of time for me to check or invade here because they're all going to be down. Now, so yeah, if nothing's here, then you just get the scuttle, and then, which is a part of invading, by the way. Scuttle is a part of invade, it's not objective. So if you, after you got the scuttle, you check it to see if you can gank. If you can't gank, just recall, and then you go back and you walk back. Now, the most important rule of jungling is you want to try to aim your recall so that you spawn at around the same time that your camps spawn. You can be a little bit later, but the higher you climb, the smaller the window is going to be. So you really want to try to get to your camps right when they're about to spawn. Another reason for that is that it completely stops enemy jungle from ever invading you while you're ganking. So if you want to counter that and never get invaded, that's how you do it. You want to get to your camps right when they spawn. So what that means is that you usually have a small window, you full clear, small window to do one thing, and then recall. That's what's usually going to be the window. Or you can also time 20 seconds before it spawns, because walking from here to here is usually 20 seconds or about 20 seconds. So, alright, so the same thing, rinse and repeat. This camp, full clear, and then you can go through the checkpoint again. And you're going to do this the entire early game. Even if they get, even if this is up, if you can invade. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know why I asked that, because I can't hear you guys, but... Alright. Now, I want you guys to think of something while you guys are walking. While you're walking, let's say you're about to walk to your second clear. I want you to think, okay, is enemy jungle gonna get to his first camp before I got to my first camp? Now, if you get to your first camps right when they respawn, then that means you're usually going to win the race, which means you're going to get there before enemy jungle. But if you're a little bit late, like let's say there was a fight happening here, you got a kill, enemy jungle died. Or let's say he died here, and then while you're getting scuttle, he revives. That means you can assume he's going to get here before you. The reason that I say that is that, remember earlier I said you want to view it as a clear race. So if you get to these camps and you think he got here before you, that means he's going to finish here before you, which means he's going to win the clear race. Now, if enemy jungle ever wins the clear race before you, that means don't want to waste time invading, because all of this is going to be gone. So you want to go through the next thing on the checklist, either ganking or objective. But usually... let me give you an example. Let's say he won the clear race, he got here before me, and then I start my camps, but I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to invade this time because he won the clear race. Now, let's say all of a sudden I see him gank bot. What this means is that he dropped his camps and came bot. And since I'm not dropping my camps, that means I'm winning the race. So a mistake that some of you are going to try to do, especially if you don't have your ult, is you're going to try to drop your camps and also follow them to counter gank. No, you don't want to do this. You want to keep in mind that, okay, he's ganking, that means I'm winning the race now, which means now I can invade. Because if you counter gank, yes, there's a chance you can get kills, but there's also a chance you can die. So there's a risk there. But if you invade, you get XP lead. So yes, even if you get a kill, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the carry. But if you get XP lead, you're setting yourself up in a position to where you're 100% going to be the carry. So this is why I prioritize XP lead over getting kills, at least in lower elo, because in let's say you're in challenger, getting an XP lead is not that important because games are going to be finished very quickly. So it's actually better to chase kills in lower elo, in higher elo, sorry. But while you're smurfing or while you're in lower tier, I think XP lead, chasing XP lead in the early game is way better. Even if enemy jungle is getting the dragon and your team is spamming you, hey, come on, we win a dragon fight. Don't even get it unless you have your ult, of course. If you have your ult and you 100% win the fight, then yes, you can leave and counter gank the objective. The only reason is because feats of strength is really important this season. So yes, dropping for objective is good, but only if you have your ult. So in the early game, you usually don't have your ult, so don't even try to drop your camps. Just focus that you're winning the base race, so after you finish this, you can actually invade now. And usually, okay, earlier I mentioned that you can only invade after all of your camps are down. There's an exception to this now. If 100%, like let's say enemy, while you're finished your camps and enemy jungle is still here, or you know he's like starting his clear, and you know for sure you can get 2 camps, then that means you can actually invade before you finish all your camps. So the only exception to the rule though is you can only leave one of your camps to invade. Never leave more than one of your camps to invade. The reason is if you know for sure you can get both of these camps, that's more than the camp that you're gonna leave. So you're leaving one for 2 camps, and on top of that, you're denying them 2 camps. So that's why it's worth to leave one camp if you know for sure you can get these 2 camps. So again, if let's say I'm about to finish here and I know that I see enemy jungle bot, or I can kind of guess that he's starting to do his camp here. After I finish this, what I usually like to do, and you need to kind of avoid vision because you don't want them to see where you're going. So usually they have it warded here. So what you don't want to do is walk this way because they'll see you invade. So kind of try to walk like this. If you have the red trinket red here in case they see you, and then come here, get his wolf while he's still over here. Start with the wolf because that's the first thing that he's gonna get. If he comes here, if he walks this way, he's gonna get to his wolf first. So that's why you want to start with your wolf, because after wolf you're gonna get this second cap, and by the time you're getting this, he's gonna be over here. So as opposed to if you didn't start with wolf, you got this, and then by the time you walked for the second camp, he's gonna meet you here. So there's gonna be a fight, and you're most likely not gonna be able to get the camp. So, and there's a risk for you to die here. So you want to avoid risks. So yeah, if you can invade, and you know for sure you're gonna get 2 camps, then yeah, leave this last camp and just come in and invade. Now, after another mistake that people do is that usually after they invade, this objective is up. Remember earlier that I said that the most important thing as a jungle is get to your camps by the time that they spawn, or a little bit earlier. So usually there's going to be scuttle at the second clear. There's going to be scuttle here and void grubs here after you invade. So yes, you can greed a little bit for the scuttle, but what I think is actually the best play because of feats of strength is instead of getting the scuttle, get 1 void grub and then W over the wall and recall. I think that's the best thing because like I said, it's very important that you get back to your camps by the time they respawn. If you get all 3 of them, you're not gonna get back here by the time that they respawn, and enemy jungle is gonna try to fight you here. He's not gonna let you get all 3 of them because all his camps are down, so he's not gonna waste any time doing camps here. So he's gonna walk through here and he's gonna fight you getting the void grubs. But if you only get 1, you stop him from getting a feat of strength stack, because void grubs only count if you get all 3 of them. So you not only stop him, but you get a little bit of XP, and you go back and you're on time. So you're setting yourself up to win the clear race again, to invade another time. So it's very important that you don't fall into the mistake of getting the scuttle and then getting the void grubs. Now your team are gonna be angry at you doing this, but remember, they're this elo because they don't understand. They don't understand how to carry, so you want to be the carry. So this is why you should be muting them. Now, another thing that can actually happen is if you finish your second clear, sometimes you're going to be level 6. So if you still have time, instead of getting the void grubs, what you can do is wait here. Try to see if any of them look, if enemy top or enemy mid look like they're rotating. If they look like they're rotating, just leave. But if they don't look like they're rotating, you can wait here and wait for enemy jungle. And you can usually fight him and kill him with your ult. But this is only if you have ult. You only fight people if you have ult. And since you have the defensive boot and Conqueror, you should usually win the fight with your ult. Now, another rule that I didn't talk about with the mechanics section, you usually don't want to ult unless they're half HP, because your ult is a very big window for you to get a kill, so you want to make sure you get a kill. If you ult too early, they can be good enough to dodge your combo or flash your ult and you won't get the kill. You might win the tempo, but you won't get the kill, which will suck. So you want to make sure you get the kill. So the way that I do this is fight them, use your combo. I mean, don't try to one-shot them with your WEQ, but just auto them, use your combo, and when they're half HP, then you ult, and you just have to, even if they try to flash, you can auto E, and they'll usually die. So, again, try to save your ult for when the person you're ulting is half HP. Even in team fights later on, which I'm going to get to that, in team fights, you want to focus. Okay, Zed's goal in team fight is to get a double kill. You never want to trade one for you dying. If you're going to die, at least make sure you got 2 kills. But when you go in team fights, you want to be patient. Wait until someone is half HP, and then you WEQ them, and then ult someone else. Or you WEQ them, and if they didn't die or you miss your Q, you ult them. That's how you want to play team fights. So it's the same thing as when you're using your ult over here. You only ult when they're half HP. So WEQ whoever's half HP already, and then if they didn't die, you ult them. If not, you ult someone else. And then you walk away from your shadow. If they don't die, your team is going to help you fight, of course. And then since you walked away from your shadow, you have the ability to swap back to your shadow here by just pressing your shadow again. But, alright. Yeah, this is how you're going to approach almost every team fight. You're just going to play it slowly. And I'll play a clip after this of me doing this in a game so that you kind of see what you do in team fights. So that was the early game as Zed. Now I'm going to talk about the mid game where you have an XP lead and your ult is up. So let's say you come back here. Now when your ult is up in the mid game, you want to start rotating and helping your kills, pushing your lead to end the game. Because what actually wins the game is Baron, Dragon, and Atakan, or however you say it. So yes, leaving the first few Dragon is okay, but Dragon Soul is what you actually want to get. Dragon Soul is important. So in the mid game, there's not going to be soul, but that's when I think you should start fighting for Dragon Soul. So the way you do this is you still focus full clear, but now if you see enemy jungle about to gank, like let's say he's here, now you can leave your camps, only if you have your ult, by the way. You can leave your camps and only rotate to match enemy jungle. The reason you only do this because to match enemy jungle is because if he's here, that means he's not doing the clear race. So you can actually match him with your ult and still win the clear race. Hopefully that makes sense. So only leave your camps to counter gank enemy jungle. Or if there's like a 500 shutdown and he's a free kill, he's like pushed in over here or for some reason and it's a 500 gold shutdown, and then yes, you can leave. But most of the time, just do it only if it's to counter gank enemy jungle. And remember, like I said, you still focus whoever's half HP and then ult whoever you can easily kill. Also, as Zed, you never even want to go in first as an assassin. You want to make sure other people are fighting and then you clean up. You're like the janitor as an assassin. And also, since Zed is so nerfed, you really have to to prioritize your combos well so you can get kills. But alright, so if you get a kill, this is in the mid game. If you get a kill, you gank, you can get a dragon for free, then yes, take it. So in the mid game, yes, you can start taking objectives. And in the late game, you can completely leave your camps and just fight with your team, or fight with whoever is the doing all whoever's also doing well on your team. And instead of going back to doing your clear race, you after you get the Drake, you can just start invading, getting all of enemy jungle's camps, just taking it, and then if a team fight is happening here again and your ult is up or it's a free pickup, you just rotate again. And yeah, it's that simple. And if you do this every game, you should be climbing as that jungle. It's really that what's the word? It's really that direct, I guess. I guess that's the word. But another objective that you always want to be there for, that you always want to leave your camps for, is Atacan and Baron. These two are the most important objectives in the game. Feat of Strength is actually not that strong, so it's okay for you to lose Feat of Strength. But this objective is really bad if you lose it. It's not, you can still win if you lost it, but it's gonna make your game way harder if you lose it. This is why I like this objective, because now it's way easier to win your games. If you get this objective, chances are you're gonna win. But yeah, even during the fight, usually you don't want to start the objective. You want to let enemy team do the objective, and then you poke them while they're on it, because this does a lot of damage actually. It's almost like it does more damage than the Baron, which is crazy. But yeah, that's how you want to play it. Unless enemy team is all dead and your team wins, then yes, you can do it without. But even as Zed, you don't want to get into it. You want to put your shadows and let your shadows fight, while you keep your HP high in case you need to fight here, because you're not going to do that much extra damage and you can poke from afar. But yeah, as long as you just keep doing that and you have an XP lead against enemy jungle and you build like this, then you should win. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the build section, I guess, is Hex Drinker. I said that you buy Hex Drinker, but I didn't mention how you make it fit into the page. If there's no one with shields on enemy team, then get Hex Drinker instead of Serpent's Fang. But if there's people with shield, like Lee Sin or Karma or Lux or something like that, then, or Lulu, or if ADC has barrier, then replace Hex Drinker with Edge of Night. But you still want to get Hex Drinker in second item, but this full item you're going to replace it with Edge of Night. But yeah, building is self-explanatory. You always want to start with Eclipse or this thing, Caulfield Warhammer again, and Hex Drinker or Boots, and then Shojin. But if you're against AD, then Caulfield Warhammer, Armor Boots, then Eclipse, and then Shojin, and then Black Cleaver, then Edge of Night, and then Serpent's Fangs. Unless you're against a Fed Yone or a Fed Lee Sin, then you're going to want Serpent's Fang second item instead of Shojin. But then the rest is going to be pretty much the same thing. So, alright, that's it for the guide on how to 1v9 every single game as Zed. Hopefully you guys learned a lot, and good luck on your climb.